Good morning, everyone out there in the Woo Nation. My name is Lawanda Banks, and I am the Director of Learning and Innovation at Learning with Lawanda. I am an entrepreneur. I've been in my own home-based business for 7 years, and I am an educator and a wife and mother. And I'm so excited to be here today with the Wake Up Everybody community, day 1401, to talk about homeschool versus traditional public school, key facts and personal reflections. These reflections are taken from my second book in my trilogy, A Seed from the Garden of Eve, A Tree Replanted, where I shared my personal experience as both a public school teacher, a homeschool teacher, and a parent of children in public school, and also a parent of children who were homeschooled. So I have all sorts of different personal angles and experiences that I'm excited to share about today with you guys. And I am also hoping that any of the listeners out there that they feel intrigued to share any experiences or thoughts that they might have concerning this topic. And also, if you guys would like to just get anything you might need to have you comfortable for this 90-minute discussion session, you can go and get those things, be it a beverage or tissues or I don't know, whatever you might need to keep you comfortable during this time. So wake up, everybody. I'm here and I'm thankful to be here today. So we can get started with this.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together. Go ahead, Lawanda.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I am here today to talk about homeschooling versus public school and my personal experience that I had with it. If anybody out there has had the experience with homeschooling their kids or are interested in homeschooling their kids, I hope that this conversation will help you guys feel more sure about your decision that you're making on the topic. And hopefully, I can offer you a little bit of guidance or suggestions on how you can go about becoming a parent of in the homeschool community. I saw this proverb while I was doing my research and gathering my thoughts, and I thought it was very applicable to the discussion today, where it says that the first school for a child is the lap of their mother. And I was a stay-at-home mom for the first 10 years of my children's lives. So my lab literally was their first classroom. where I taught them from infancy all the way up until they were ready for kindergarten, their basic learnings, not only academic with learning how to read and write and do math, and learn about some type of world knowledge, but also learning about how to personally care for themselves and setting routines for them. So as a parent, I made sure that I was able to take advantage of the fact that I was a teacher by then, but to take advantage of the fact that I was going to be their first teacher in the world. And I took that task very seriously, since knowing that there was such a small window of time that we could jump on and take advantage of the learning process much more quicker and easier while they're younger. So, if this proverb speaks to someone, if anyone would like to back up on this topic here, this point that the first school for a child is the lap of their mother, you guys can come in and share to me what you think about that comment, if anyone would like to share.
As people are getting landed into the space, I'll share. Um, I love that idea. You know, it is consistent.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking
And
that
hear
you're
you
breaking
now.
up.
All right, something's happening with his audio. I'll jump in, I'll bridge in and say that my children went to more traditional school. I have three children, they're all grown. My youngest is 20, he'll be 21 in October. But homeschooling for me, in my view, um, was not an option for me because of my work schedule and just the various things that I was doing at the time in church and community. And then I had a business that I was running. So I felt like that wasn't an option for me. And at the time when I was raising them, I considered it for my son, but his dad said no to it. But with my daughters, I didn't even really have any education about homeschooling as an option. So it seemed odd to me. And I was fearful, like thinking about it, I know I would be fearful about not covering all the bases for
Mhm.
schooling and not having the skill set to teach them how to read and do all the things that are necessary for them to be well rounded academically. And I'm complete.
Thank you for sharing on that. Um, I think that, with the technology, the integration of technology, it's made homeschooling so much more simpler than we had traditionally, because traditionally we had to just rely on just the books or be able to find the right curriculum, and it was very cumbersome and overwhelming. And then it brought a lot of anxiety and fear and feeling insecure as a parent with working with your child, especially if you're not into teaching. So I can understand that, but I think that for younger ones, it may be simpler to work with them, but as they get up in the grades, and if we're limited as parents in our own knowledge of the subject and stuff like that, we may feel a little more insecure still. So trusting in the public school system or another private school may be something that we might have leaned more toward. But I find that since getting into homeschooling and the platforms that I use, which are virtual accredited platforms, they've allowed me that flexibility, and they also allow my families who use my services to be able to say if they work from home or because of the schedule or the age of the child, they can independently be at home at a certain age. So it really helped. It's helping now more than then. And I think that that's why now we're seeing even more people getting in on the homeschool because of these options that are out there. So I see that Miss Rashida's hand is up if she would like to share.
Grand Rising, everyone. Thank you so much, Wanda, for that topic. And I am I would say, firm believer in homeschooling. And I love when you say the power of where they started is in the mother lab. And I would say I kudos to that because that's how I started my kids with homeschooling. originally from Costa Rica, and I breastfeed my kids in 5 and 6 years in the breastfeeding room. So that's where they started their education. That's where they started their grounding. And yes, I firmly believe in homeschooling. My son, my three girls are more educated in Costa Rica, and the education in Costa Rica is completely different than here. But when they moved to the US, our three girls, they was ready for going off to the last year of high school and one into college. So the my oldest girl, she came from Costa Rica into college, and it was worth the whole transition, have that education. And right now she works for NASA, Valley Victoria and Harways. So I think the foundation is really good. My son is 27 years old, and he was homeschooled, traditionally homeschooled, and also went after a boarding school that it was a homeschool setting boarding school. Graduated high school at 15, started college at 15 and a half. So I am firm believer. I kudos to anybody who really have that mentality of homeschooling. My grandson, he just turned 17, homeschool. As a matter of fact, he just landed yesterday from Paris, and he traveled. He's a jazz musician, and basically I say he started homeschool. He started playing the guitar at 4 years old. So for me, it's a must. My niece now have two kids, 5 year old and 1 year old, and they homeschool in Brooklyn. Thank you so much for the topic. Thank
Thank
you. I really
you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I just hope that your testimony, that's what I want to call it, that your testimony really encourages others to just consider it because, as you can see, your experience, like mine and many others, have been very, very positive. Um, I don't know where the disconnect comes in sometimes, where people they want to look down on homeschooling or that something is wrong with it. But I think that is the safest and most relaxed, most natural and authentic space in which to learn. And then we have so much control over where they go, what they do, what they learn, how they're learning it. Sometimes we would like to be able to, when we look in a book, you're just looking at the picture, but homeschooling allow us to really take our kids out onto the field, get hands-on experience, real world life experience, much more than you can do from just looking at a video or talking about it in the classroom. So thank you so much for sharing about your family and your family's history after seeing the successes from you and that it's extending on to other family members. That's very that's a powerful thing for the system. So thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else that would like to touch on this piece of the conversation where the first school for a child is the lap of their mother? And we're talking about being able to take advantage of educating our kids at home. For those of us who have that opportunity to do that. Miss K Sweetness, I see her hand is up.
Grand Rising, beloved. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you. I'm fine.
So good to hear your lovely voice. I thought when you said the lap, and I'm reading the first school for a child is the lap of their mother, and I'm thinking back to when I used to sit on my granny's lap all the time, all the time, all the time, and that's what comes back to my memory more often than things that I learned in a classroom. Right? I love the classroom. However, looking at this photo and then remembering the comfortability
Hmm.
that I had was sitting on Granny's lap, and I think I did it till I was about 13 years old. I'm sure I had a bra on and some jeans, but yeah, yeah, I'm for that. I have my youngest son has a son, and he's with him all the time, and he's teaching him what he needs to know. And also, I want to chime in and say that I have a book and it says everything you need to know you learned in kindergarten, right? So we learn my experience is that we learn so much as children sitting, if you have the luxury of sitting on somebody's lap. I was listening to Shawnee, and in my house, my mother's lap was not available, not at all, because she was hustling and she
Mhm.
was trying to make things happen. And so, however, I have been fortunate enough to have a grandmother who was available. And so, I advocate for the children who can stay home when home is stable, and you have someone there equipped to make the necessary deposits
Mhm.
in them with patience. Because I remember also my mom not having a lot of patience, and I would attribute that to her just trying to make things happen and sleep at the same time. So yeah, this picture brings much joy to my face. Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Thanks for sharing it and about your grandma too. I think about well, my whole essence revolves around my grandmother and her lap. And just hearing you talk about your grandma, I was thinking about mine and how she would sit, I would be in her lap. I could just even imagine it because that's how I see her even with the ones that came after me. And she's singing some gospel songs, or she's saying a Bible verse, or she's talking about, the head, fingers, knees, and toes, or, little things that people say to children that teach them about their initial awareness about your body parts, your eyes and ears and mouth and nose, all of those little things that teach us about self, initial things that we overlook and not even realize that we're teaching our kids when we talk when we talk into the child when they're in our lap and tell them how beautiful they are or how smart they are or how much potential they have. All of that is putting seeds into our children and putting positive stuff into them, and it comes right off the lap immediately. So thanks for sharing on that. I see that Yvette's hand is up, and then Veronica.
Grand Rising,
Grand
and
rising.
thank you for what a lovely topic. I and thank K Sweetness for making me get up. So I homeschooled both of my girls, and up until high school, they wanted to go to high school, so they went to high school. But um, yeah, I would say that if everyone could do it, it's the best thing to me. The the joys and the, I guess, not so joys, but everything in between. You get to you get to see how your children learn, and then you can teach them in that way. Um, yeah, I had the best time. You know, I am a high school math teacher, so I am in the classroom, and sometimes I see, there are ways in which you want to teach kids in this classroom, and it's really difficult because there's so many, and you can't do the things you want to do. And that is the big difference with homeschooling. Even I had friends who like had 8 children, and people go, "How do you do it?" And I'm going, still only 8 children compared to 30 some odd kids in the classroom. And then the other comment is, well, I don't have a teaching degree. I said, well, most people who homeschool don't have teaching degrees. There are people who don't even have high school diplomas who are teaching their kids. You know what your children need by being with your children.
Mhm.
And there's so many resources, especially now, to help you do that. So, um, both of my children, my youngest daughter just graduated from high school. It's gonna make me cry. So, to get them to that point is a beautiful thing, and to have that experience, it's not unlike no other. To be able to go to the store and be like, okay, let's do this, as opposed to like, this is how you do math.
Right.
Because some kids don't learn like that. They really don't. I remember being in a homeschool group. I was in several, and one of the parents shared, and I thought how absurd and crazy, but their child hadn't started reading it until like they were 9 years old.
Mhm.
But the whole time they were reading to the child, and they were doing things with the child. And that when the child did start reading, they could read novels. It wasn't like they couldn't read, they just
Mhm.
weren't ready. And then there's other reasons people do it. Some children are artistic, some children don't get along well in school. There was so many different ways and whys, and
Mhm.
it was beautiful to see the avenues that people took and why, and that there was a community that was willing to support me and others in doing so. And when I started, also, there was an African American community. So that was even
Wow.
wonderful. Yeah, I mean, it was like really amazing. We went to the Gullah Islands, and my daughter was 2. I don't think she remembered it, but we got to enjoy, the education of it. But it was great to be around other homeschoolers who had different age children.
Mhm.
There's just so many things that I can say is positive. My mom was not available in the same capacity either. I think that's one of the reasons why I was so open to doing it. I had a friend of the family who homeschooled her children when I never knew what homeschooling was, and she is what the seed that was planted
Mhm.
in my brain. So um, I just was so grateful that I recognized that I had that opportunity, and I'm so grateful that this is a platform that people can see that there are other avenues. You don't have to do the traditional go to school thing. It's not necessary. Um, and there are ways, even if you are working. I mean, there were people who had full time jobs homeschooling. So there are so many ways that you can do this. And, know that you'll be supported if that's what you choose. So, and as African Americans, that's the other thing. I think sometimes they don't think they can do that. And it's like, yes, you can. You can,
Mhm.
and your children deserve that if that's what you want. It is absolutely a positive experience for all involved, yourself, your children, and the people they get exposed to. It's like a whole nother world, really. And I'm so grateful I was able to do that for my children. And I know sometimes they were like, oh my God, mom, I need more friends. That was the other thing. I
Mhm.
need more friends. I need to do this. I need to do that. And I was just like, you'll be exposed. And then, it's one of the reasons why I was like, okay, if you want to go to high school, it's, I'm not going to keep you here. But I think as an educator, when I started doing it and the kids were coming into high school, not prepared, that was the definite reason why I decided that my kids could not go to school. And they at least had to have a foundation.
Mhm.
And then, if they should choose, I won't keep them from it, but it's definitely, what they needed, at least for me. And the fact that you can go on any trip, anywhere. I mean, I have friends who actually homeschool around the world. That's their schooling. So I could keep going. So I know there are other people who need to go. But thank you for this topic. It is amazing. It's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
And thank you for sharing.
Thank you. It's so funny. Like I'm facilitating, I'm holding my tongue because I'm a sharer. I like to share. I'm holding my tongue listening to you talking about in the classroom. And I think that was one of my biggest frustrations as a teacher in the classroom because they have all of these, they've taken away our authorities of deciding which student would even need a resource to help them along the way, a supplemental tool. Because if your child isn't listed on the SPED or listed with an IEP or listed, which is an individual education plan for those who do not know, or something like that, if they don't have that, then we are basically almost banned from giving them the things that they need to be successful, even though we know that they're putting kids who do have learning disabilities and stuff that require somebody who have a special education type background to work with that child. They're putting them in the regular general classroom, expecting for regular general teachers to work with them, but yet we can't use our free will by assisting a student who may need that extra help to bridge gaps, or to they may suffer from memory issues or retention issues, whatever can help them to get along the way. It's like we're prohibited from that in the classroom because of all of these different rules and regulations. So being able to independently homeschool my children really helped me. And even as a support to homeschool parents with my service, we are able to use those different types of things more freely without the district's administration telling me that I can't or cannot when I know that this is what I need to give to my student for what they're learning at that time. So thanks for sharing that. I see that Veronica's hand is patiently waiting.
Good morning, Grand Rising all. One quick story is my friend Maimuna, who you've all met, Mumu Fresh. She homeschooled her son, and so I watched her all through the years. She traveled all over the world performing, and she would take him everywhere with her. And today, he spent a week with me last month, and he is currently on a full 4-year scholarship to North Carolina A&T to be an engineer.
Wow.
And so that is an example of great homeschooling, where
Mhm.
she belonged to different homeschool groups. And so his friendships were with other homeschooled children.
Mhm.
And he's so well-rounded and well-grounded. It's amazing to see him. And
Mhm.
then my experience was at the Crown Heights Youth Collective in Brooklyn, where I put my daughter and my son. My son hated it, so I did take him out. But they got such a wealth of information. There was one day a week where they went to the Prospect Park. Tyoma, if anybody knows Tyoma, she's a midwife. And she would teach them about the natural herbs that grew all through Prospect Park. And then they had a French teacher and a Wolof teacher. And so homeschooling comes in so many different varieties. And my daughter, Michelle, she left when she was 15, going on 16, and went to Talladega University for 2 years. And so homeschooling prepares our children in a different type of way. And so I appreciate what you're saying, and it's so true. And Yvette, it's wonderful that we understand and we can see that there are so many different varieties of homeschooling and ways to do it. And I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see Miss Shawnee's hand is up.
Yeah, before we go to Shawnee, I wanted to, because the chat is very alive
Okay.
on all of the different mediums, so I really wanted to bring the voices of the chat.
Please. Thank you.
All right, so let me pull up the chat here. Mama Z, she said she agrees with the proverb. Her eldest started a Muslim school, then spent 1 year in public school when they first moved to Georgia. Then all three children went to the homeschool of one of my son's early teachers from the Muslim school. When we left Atlanta, I homeschooled for several years. My youngest two went to a Montessori school for several years and returned to homeschool. So a mix for my children. Uh, K Sweetness says you can take more field trips.
Mm.
And Mama Z said, I planned many of our field trips on the weekend so their friends could go. Right. And coming in from Facebook, Yvette Hudson says, okay, sister, now go drink some water. We celebrate your daughter's accomplishment of completing high school. She was responding to, I think it was Yvette. And Yvette said, yes, to Tooma and the collective. And Shawnee mentioned, I love that there's a connection between you and other homeschoolers.
Mhm.
Right. And so that is information. I just wanted to bring the voices of the chat. And Sister Shawnee can come off mute now.
Yeah, I'm going to pivot the conversation a little bit. It's still about homeschool, but just wanted to put this out here. Um, Not to dispute, but just to offer another perspective. It was shared, I think it was by you, Lawanda, that it's the best or the most comfortable for the children. I know for myself, in my younger years, because I had my daughters when I was 20 and 21, I did teach them. I taught my cousins, not homeschool, but I worked with them around homework and different things
Mhm.
so they could be well-rounded. But, I've worked a lot of years. I used to work a lot in social services. I worked in child welfare, not taking kids, but helping parents get their children back. Work with parents that have substance issues, mental health issues. Not every parent or caregiver is equipped or the best person to teach their children. I love that they're a homeschool collective so that other folk can take the accountability to care for the kids. But some parents, even without all the issues that I described, I remember speaking to my son-in-law, Omari, and he's a teacher, but he was like, I'm not the best teacher for my kids as it relates to math because he's a math teacher. He's like, I get so frustrated because my grandbaby daughter, she doesn't grasp math as quickly. But his was a mild thing. He was like, "Oh, I get frustrated. I want her to know," and I'm like, "I teach math. Why can't she get it?" But there
Mhm.
are parents that get super frustrated. They can't be as objective with their own children. Some people, when they teach, they're abusive, um,
Mhm.
and not everybody is suited for homeschooling for their children. So on the continuum, and I know you don't say that it should be homeschool and throw
Yes.
out
Yes.
public school. You're talking about the reflective energy. We've heard the positives for homeschooling, but I also want to put in that there are some people that I interact with. I'm like, I know they wouldn't be the best person to homeschool their children because of the level of frustration and then also their self-judgment and stuff like that. So just wanted to put that different perspective into the space.
Right. And it's not for everybody, just like public school isn't for everybody. We have issues in the public school classroom, not only where student to student, but teacher to student, concerns and issues with bullying, with the way in which they ostracize certain kids automatically. Some teachers, they see the child walk in the door and they automatically put a judgment on the child. So definitely we do know, just like there are parents who every parent isn't a good parent or every person isn't suitable to parent because of their shortcomings or whatever. I hope that this conversation is the understanding that it is just an option. It's an option that I was able to take advantage of and that I thought was good for me and my fit and my family. So it's definitely something that we're just saying that, hey guys, remember there is this thing called homeschool. It's another road. It's one that's less traveled, but it's definitely an option for people who would like to have it. I think for me, one of the main reasons why I started homeschool was because my son was always sick with allergies. He had really bad seasonal allergies that flare up his asthma. And every time I wanted to keep him home for his breathing treatments, I'm his mom, me and his doctor, we have our understandings. I know how to help my child when he's sick with his asthma. So he would need to go on breathing treatments throughout the day or some of the and then because of the coughing and the stuffiness and just itchy everything, he can't function like that. But I would still have to take him to the doctor's office, to the pediatrician's office, just to get a note so I can have him excused from school. And I know that some people do have truancy cases and all of that stuff, but his case wasn't a truancy case. It was more of a medical necessity. And it just became so upsetting to me every time he had to stay home that I would have to go and, take him to the doctor just to get an excuse. And so I took him out of school for that. And I also pulled them out when they had the Sandy Hook shooting where they massacred all those little ones. My children were in the grades that of the classes that were attacked. And it hit me so hard emotionally because it was such a random thing. I was like, that could have happened anywhere. It could have happened in our town. It's like so random. And it just put this kind of little insecure and fear over me. Like, I don't feel safe for my kids to be in the schools where there was those issues with the bullyings and the school shootings and all of those different types of things started to come around. I just decided, you know what? As soon as I can, I'm going to take my kids out and start homeschooling them again because I did enjoy working with my kids when they were younger. So thanks for sharing that and for definitely acknowledging the negative components that could be associated with homeschooling. But I'm definitely trying to keep the conversation on the idea of those people who are able and who would like to homeschool or have heard about the homeschooling thing but didn't have any quite good clarity on it, just to put out some options on the table there. So we can go on to our next slide. I think this is something this one point gave us 30 minutes of conversation already. But here's an excerpt from my second book, A Seed from the Garden of Eve, A Tree Replanted, speaking on taking the role of being my child's first teacher, my children's first teacher. I took the role of their first teacher, focusing on essential early childhood skills like reading, writing, and basic arithmetic until they were ready for kindergarten. I taught them about self-care. Establishing a daily schedule was crucial. It provided structure for both the children and me. I carefully planned our day, including time for breakfast, learning, cleaning, cooking, napping, playing, bathing, dinner, bedtime. That's just how the day feels, all of that. This routine not only facilitated a comforting rhythm for the kids, but also alleviated my own feelings of burnout during those busy days. So for me, while they were little, having a structure, I studied and I learned that having structure and organization and having the kids to understand that there's a sequence in our life in which we do things. So having all of those things in a schedule helped me to not feel so overwhelmed as I was a stay-at-home mom. It was just me and my two kids and my husband here in Texas. We didn't have any other family. So for me, I didn't have the luxuries of sending them to anyone else or getting the break or anything like that. So having that scheduled routine helped me as I was running my family and the household. So if anyone else who did homeschooling did this type of schedule or structure help you as you were carrying out your homeschooling duties with your little ones? And these are the little ones I'm talking about, like in the first 5 years.
So, Lawanda, would you repeat the question? So you,
Okay, so when those persons who were homeschooling, if they actually used a similar kind of structure or a similar kind of schedule, if they were like stay-at-home moms, if there were any stay-at-home moms out there who worked with homeschooling their kids, if they had a similar kind of routine, or how was your approach to the homeschooling itself?
yeah, thank you for that. I see Yvette's hand is up. Yvette, you can unmute.
I yeah, when they were younger, because I had never homeschooled, I basically went online and looked at I think, well, before that, when they were before child age, going to school age, I kind of just like you did. I did have a schedule. We get up, we'd have breakfast. Um, I would. I was trying to remember what I did. Yeah, we do. I'm a fitness professional as well, so we would do exercises, and then I would just do reading, and I did the three R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic, because that's all I knew. And as I was learning. One day I decided when they were getting ready to be more like a kindergarten, I said, let me go online and see what a kindergarten classroom looks like really what they do. And I saw the schedule, and although it's like all day, it literally is 2 hours or less of work.
Right.
Literally. It was like playtime and circle time and all these times. But most of the work was really under 2 hours, especially because they were so little. And I just created a schedule that allowed us to get in a little bit of the work, but not be like school. I didn't want to be like we were in school, because then why not be in school? I spent a lot of time in the park when it was warm, when we could do all kinds of stuff. We did a lot of arts and crafts, but there was a schedule, like you said, it is, from the morning to the night, so that yes, I was a stay-at-home mom, and you need a break. And before I got into groups, I had no idea that it was going to be so much time. I didn't know what the time factor would be, but as you get into it, you're okay. I need a minute.
Right.
Um, you realize you need to go to bed at this time so I can breathe. And so over the years, I definitely made sure that the structure was in place so that I did have a break. And then, like I said, I did get into groups. I have to say that that was a blessing. And having the support of other moms. Again, some were stay-at-home moms and others weren't. But as a stay-at-home mom, it is a lot. And yeah, this is not for the faint at heart, and it's not for everyone. And that was the question or comment. I would say that was the comment most people would say. I couldn't do that, This and I was just like, no, it's not for everybody. No, some people don't want to be around their kids all day,
Okay.
and so. But structure definitely makes it easier for the person who does do it because it's a lot. It's a lot. Like that, if you say anything otherwise, you're kidding yourself. It's a lot to be around your children all day, you know. Just because we all need moments to ourselves. Not that they're horrible. And then if you have children who have challenges, autism or some sort of learning challenge, or in my case, my daughter as she got older, it was more mental. That's a lot too. So
Mhm.
you really have to have the support, and if not the support outside, you have to be able to support yourself.
Right.
So that's
So
it.
thank
I'm
you.
complete.
Thank you for that. Um, do we have any other shares before we move on to the next slide?
Yes, we do. So, Shawnee had made mention that she loved the fact that you were able to do it and that you were so successful. And she was inquiring about what year did you start homeschooling your children?
Okay, so when I first had them, I was a stay-at-home mom for the first 10 years of their life. So my son, when he was going into kindergarten, so I went from infancy to kindergarten for both of them. And then I stayed at home a little bit past that moment, when I went back to school at UTA. For like 2, 3 years, I was technically still a stay-at-home mom at that point. So even though they were in public school for, say grades kinder to like sixth grade for my daughter, and then ninth grade for my son. So my daughter never went to middle school or high school in the public school. She did it online with my tutoring company. So so it was in those years. So that was 18 about 7 years ago, 2018, 2017, somewhere in there, we started homeschooling the kids.
Okay, thank you. And so we have Zakia. She says the new online virtual systems really simplify homeschooling,
Mhm.
especially for parents who don't feel equipped to teach their children themselves. And she said, yes, I had a schedule. I homeschooled and worked the third shift. Oh, and I was also a cultural clown at the time. Uh,
Right. So, yes, online schooling. The program that we use the platform called Accelis Academy. It's an accredited system. It's based in Missouri. It's an internationally recognized institution. They have a campus in Kansas and in Missouri, but they also have it like completely online. So it's modules. It's not like you have to see a teacher and sign in exactly at 8 o'clock to see your teacher. You can really set your homeschooling hours around your work schedule. You can put your kids in places like the Y and all of these different extracurricular activities while you're at work. They have it where they do transportation services and all of these different things nowadays, where your child can be at one thing to the other and the next, if you can afford it, or if you have it where the child can be at home and just jump online to do their 2 or 3 hours, really is all it is. Because what we do, instead of working on 6 subjects in one day, we just focus on 3 subjects at a time. And as they are done with those 3 subjects, they take on the other 3 subjects. So we're pacing ourselves. And when they're done with the math and language arts components of each grade level they're in, we use additional online and textbooks to online platforms like IXL or maybe Khan Academy if we wanted to. We use Abaka textbooks and other types of textbooks, especially for the younger ones. So we use all of these other types of platforms to reinforce and to keep going on the content of language arts and math, even when they're studying their other subjects. So we kind of mix it up. We put all sorts of different things in the box so that they have an array. Apart from that, like I said, we do go out a lot and do a lot of field studies, hands-on stuff. We throw science expos. We do all of the things that they would do in a regular school. We get to do here. And even things like gym. No, they cannot go to the gym at the school, but we have memberships where they have areas where kids can be in the gym at the kids club, or when they're old enough to start working out, then now we throw that in the schedule and put workouts in our schedule to take the kids there. So we were able to, because of my special circumstance where I was at home, not everybody have that luxury, and that's what I think it is. It's a luxury, and it's something that I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do. But for me and my personal circumstance, um, being able to bring in all of those different components into their experience really made the homeschool journey much more meaningful for me. And having a Celis to help give the direct teaching and the report cards and the grading and all of that stuff, it took the stress off of me to have to teach two kids in two different grades. At that point, I'm just facilitating, I'm just checking, reinforcing, and tutoring at that point if they came across the subject that they didn't understand, or even if it was a subject that I didn't understand, then I was able to hire a tutor to assist my kids with the subject that I was weakest in at, which was the high school math, like the high school algebra and geometries and all of that stuff. I'm not for that. So that's my shortfall, and I'm working on it. I'm actually in the Acellus program, also learning my reinforcing on my high school math, so that as I have students who's doing it, if I need to jump in and help them with that subject, I am more prepared for it. And even the program is so good that even adults can get their high school education, and parents can go back and watch the video and look at the questions and make corrections. So we are all learning at the same time sometimes. So I do see some other hands up. Kamau.
Wow, yes. So this is great. I was interested in knowing that, I've heard about the different homeschool networks, right? Just for the socialization part of education. So I was interested in knowing what intentionally, as a part of your methodology around the socialization aspects of teaching and learning.
hmm so for me, I think for me, because I lead my company, I'm able to harvest lots of kids at different ages. So every week, for instance, we have scheduled in our week, every week, that we go out on a field trip, or we have some sort of gathering, or some sort of group thing where they're coming, they're learning games together, they're playing games, we're doing karaoke, we're going out on, field trips like to splash pads and pools and to the movies and on shopping excursions and eating in restaurants and just, everything that's like outside that we would want to, things that I never got to do, I get to do now because I homeschool. So it's just been an overall fun experience for me. Having the older kids interact with the younger kids, that there is also good sometimes because it helps the older ones to be mindful, and it helps the little ones to emulate. Sometimes they see the older ones and they look up to them when they watch them getting their good grades or their behavior. We get to talk about all of that conduct. So I think that the social part is really good because we don't have to wait for a school approval or a board's approval to go on a field trip. We can just jump up one day, depending on the feeling and the energy and what we're doing, and say, hey, we're going to go out on the field actually today because I want y'all to see what weathering, for instance, looks like, because the park down the street have these big trees with the giant roots that the water done broke through and all of that stuff. So I would like for them to just get their hands on and actually go and feed a fish, Let's go feed a duck instead of just looking at it online. What farms look like? Let's go to the farm. So all of that there, and you can gather friends and people in the community. They come out to the field trips, and the kids get to meet all sorts of different people because of the different events that we host throughout the year, highlighting holidays and things like that. You know, the Thanksgiving feast, the Christmas parties, the Easter egg hunts, and festivals, and all of that stuff. So we get to do so much more creative things now, and birthday parties and all of that. We get to do so much more now since we're at home versus having to be in the public school. And the work and the actual interactions are better monitored and stuff like that when we taken out our groups versus them being in the public school where there's hundreds and hundreds of kids or thousands of kids in some of the schools. And then the children can feel more lonelier in a school with a whole bunch of people because they really feel like they don't fit in. Some of them have a hard time. So yes, okay. There I go with that. Okay, Shawnee, your turn.
No, it's what you're sharing is powerful. Thank you. I love your excitement about it. It's really inspiring. A couple of things I wanted to say, I'll say them as quickly as I can. Listening to you, it reminded me of the work that I do as an advocate activist around reproductive health and reproductive justice. What we are working towards restoring is more birth options, and home birth is one of them. So when I think about the home as sanctuary, and like I said, it's not for everyone, as we've said, just like home birthing, giving birth at home is not for everybody. But like if we were taught about the value of being able to keep our children with as close to us as possible, not training them very, very early on to be like worker bees. It's like industrialize them and create this dynamic to set them up to be out in the world working like drones.
Mm-hmm.
And that came to me as you were speaking. And I just think it's very, very sad. I talk about myself in this way a lot, like because I was in school and because they categorized the students and I was placed in the gifted program, it set me up to work to exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's cool to be declared gifted, it's not when it creates overwork and then also separates you from other children. And it created dissension with other children because they're like, you're in this special class and I'm not. It was just really weird. It's like, oh, does this mean I'm not smart? Meaning for other children.
Right.
So that the other thing that I was thinking about was how we're living in a world where they're stripping us from what we can have our children read, trying to force certain, like the history and how it's taught for Black and Brown folk to have more agency and control over our children learning culture that is true for us and history that includes us is so important. So you doing that and other homeschooling parents doing that is so necessary for Black and Brown children because our school system across the nation is low vibrational. It's a lot of stuff is geared toward testing. And
Mm-hmm.
once again, where they start our history, especially as Black and Brown people, is often low vibrational in the sense that our history didn't start with enslavement. And so, so much is coming up just listening to you about this, and it's exciting stuff. But I wanted to ask a question about testing. Like, are there rules? And I guess different states have different rules around testing and what you must test them on to demonstrate that they're eligible to cross over into the next grade or the next level of schooling.
Well, that's the beauty of Acellus Academy. It's an accredited online system. So with Acellus, my life has changed. Like, I wish every teacher could do what I do because it's like a win-win situation for me. The kids get something that is nationally recognized curriculum for their grade level. They can do it online and in their own scheduled day. So I have it where my kids, for instance, they start their studies from a typical child would go from 9 to 12, and they're done for the day. They're done with their academics. if we have other things planned for the kids to do, like a field trip, or they may study on some researching on something for history or something for science, or doing something for art and craft, or doing something with reading and theater, we're putting them all together. So I like that the Acellus system is already accredited. And that gives me the comfort of knowing that they're getting that grade level instruction that's needed, and I'm not missing any of those holes. Anybody have any questions to ask, they can go to Acellus Academy. Acellus Academy even logs when they get on, how long they've been on for. So all of the student hours are already logged in there. And with the testing in Texas, even though they have the STAR test, which is the state test, our students do not have to take that test. I mean, parents can even exempt their kids from taking that test, but our students do not have to take it because their school is based in Missouri. So they don't have to go through all of those things. Our students don't even have to take a SAT or ACT, especially if they just want to go and transition over to the community college. They just have to take the TSI entrance test to check their levels for their reading and math to see if they need remedial classes or developmental math or English. That's when they can take it. But I found that the transition from my students, we've had successfully over, and this is a very small homeschool company I have at my house, but well, tutoring and homeschool support. But with that, we've had about eight high school successful graduates and who've all transitioned over into college and university. And I have another 3 or 4 that's lined up to come out the rest of this year. So, the homeschooling system that I'm talking about is called Acellus Academy. I'm going to type it in here, acellus.com. And if you go in there, you will find a plethora of grade level subjects from pre-K all the way up to high school. And the Acellus Academy, they even have like scholarship options. So instead of paying like 160 the course the per month, it's like $80 per month. And we also use their sister company, which is called Power Homeschool. Power Homeschool is not accredited, but it's the exact same videos and module system. And that there is only $25 a month. So if you feel comfortable with saying, I'm not ever going to put my kids into public school, so I don't even need the accredited diploma per se, or I'm going to put them in elementary on Power Homeschool, and when they reach to the middle and high school levels, then I would pay the extra money and put them on the Acellus so that I can have that accredited high school diploma that they can use to go into the colleges with. So it's just been the test anxiety levels go down and all of those things because the kids are able to really just be in a comfortable setting to take their time and learn. They're not rushing it, or they don't have to wait for the whole class to go on to the next topic because they're self-paced. So that's why I love the systems a lot. So is there anyone else or any messages that we would like to share at this time? It's actually almost 8 o'clock on your side, 7 o'clock my time. So if anybody do have to leave at this time, thank you for your presence here today. We will be continuing this conversation for another 30 minutes. So if you would like to stay on, please do so.
Right. So uh, we do have a few and comments in the chats. So Yvette is responding to Shawnee. Overstood Shawnee agreed it is not for everyone. Um, and then we have in some districts, this is Yvette, homeschooling children can be a part of their sports programs and extracurricular activities, right? And you share the SLS, that's what. And in New York State, the homeschooling parents have to submit quarterly reports at the end of the year report and the end of the year report. That's from Yvette. And yeah, those are the comments that we have so far.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think too that Acellus Academy is an actual school. So when you submit at the beginning that your kids are in the Acellus Academy, I think it comes across as they are in an online school. So I don't know if the New York homeschooling parents would still have to submit those quarterly reports, especially if they're already enrolled in Acellus. Most of those questions, any questions that they may have, they call Acellus Academy, and Acellus Academy speak for that parent. That parent do not have to worry about all of that extra stress. I see that my friend Chris, his hand is up. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Grand Rising, everybody. Grand Rising. This is definitely a lovely information today. I was just speaking to, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, yes. Because I was just spending time with Shani at an art gallery after the transitioning of my grandmother. And we
Okay.
talked about the instruments we liked as a child. I mean, this is my viola, which yesterday I was playing it at Yogisha's body party. And we were actually elevating people there while doing yoga.
Mhm.
So I want to thank her for that. And she's not wrong about the writings. You see this right here? Angela Davis wrote this in 1981,
Mhm.
Women's Race and Class. And I wrote this in 2023 for my school's newspaper.
Mhm.
And my grandma who raised me till I was about 11, she was born in 1898.
Oh,
So a
wow.
lot of these things, a lot of these homeschooling things, I realized that what she taught me from there really has made me who I am today. This much thinking because I was born at 27-week gestation,
Mhm.
and after 28 weeks is that your mind develops 2/3 of its brain. I was born with a third of a brain, and I was also born with almost no lungs because it develops last. And as
Mhm.
my mom said, they told her not to get used to me. And
Mhm.
she still wrapped me up, and I'm still here turning 30. I just turned 36, so thank you, Mom. I'm in a very good space. I wanted to ask a question. If a child has never been homeschooled, you said that your child went up to high school. So is this reversible if I were to become a teacher?
If you want to teach your children,
Yes.
you can put if you are already in your flexible life and your children are, they should be with you. Are they there now? Because you said they were coming when I talked to you
Oh,
last.
yes. No, they're coming, but now yeah, I have to wait like another month.
But if they come
But
with you,
but it's already on paper, so I'm
so
I'm
when
okay
they
with that.
come, they'll be staying with you permanently.
Yes.
I need you to call me so that so that I
Oh,
can help you and we can talk in more detail about the options. Because if you are a independent worker and you set your own schedule and things like that, your children can literally be with you as you're going throughout your day because
oh,
their school is inside of the computer. It's on a tablet, it's through the phone, it's wherever you want them to be. So if you have to travel, they can travel with. If you're at home, you can have it set up. It's the best thing because it takes away so much of extra stress. And I promise you, it is so simple that the kids actually they don't need my help. I tell parents, y'all don't need me. It's like, no, 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 we need you. You stay right there. Because it's so easy and simple. So if you want, Chris, please reach out to me and we can have a discussion. Even if you go onto my website with learningwithlawanda.com, in there you can schedule a consultation with me and we can meet through Zoom and I can show you what the whole thing looks like and we can set up a structure for you so that when your kids come, you already have their schooling bit already sorted out. And it'll
oh,
only cost you out of pocket $160 a month. And they
oh,
have
wow.
access to 6 subjects for their grade level. And you can know that you are with your kids and you're bonding with them and you're working with them and you're learning with them and you're teaching
Oh,
them.
wow.
It makes it so much easier and it'll give you that time that you really need to work with your children and that I think that's what I'm coming through with coming up in this discussion. I might have to do a part two of this discussion
Oh,
because
this
we
is
haven't even
amazing.
gotten into it. I'm just on slide 6 and I'm going to 12 here. So please just reach out to me because I would really like to help you with an idea or suggestion that can help smooth your transition with your children. I'm so excited. Every time I see
Thank
you,
you.
I smile because I'm like, this is the miracle child. This is the one who wasn't be here, and here he is today. So I just want the best for you and for your children. And in this time in your life, I would love to be able to give you a suggestion that you might want to try. It can't hurt to try.
No, definitely.
It's a Celis. A Celis is available anytime. So if Chris signs up his kids today on the Acellus Academy, they're already in their courses. You don't
Oh
have to even
wow.
give them any transcripts. They
Oh
give you transcripts at the
wow.
end of it. So you just sign them up, which grade you want them in. So if your child, for instance, showed that they were in fourth grade, but they have so much holes from third grade, you can put them in the third grade of Celis, and by the time the whole school year is over, they would have finished fourth grade. Because from
Oh
September
wow.
to December, you can finish a grade level worth of work. And then you can just move up into the next grade, or you can take extra time if you want to do the reinforcement things, like I said. So then they can do it over the summer. They can do it on the weekends. They can do it on holidays. They can do it whenever because it's all online and they just continue where they left off in the modules. So it's so simple. And you can rewatch the videos. You can see if they were paying attention. You can check and see, did you take your notes in bullets like I asked you to do on in Grammarly, for instance. So I set it up where even the littlest ones learn how to type notes, how to refer back to it, how to pay attention, how to take your notes with your teacher in the math. And it's
Yeah.
all just multiple choice questions and essays that you put in. So it's not cumbersome at all.
Is there anything they do with the hand? Is it all type, or do they have to physically write on
They can
paper?
they can it can be both, but in the system they have a box where you can type up your stuff. So for instance, if you have a young child and they had to write a short story or a short paragraph, you and the child can work together, handwrite out what they're going to type. That way, they're looking and practicing their typing, and you make sure that the response that they're going to put is a meaningful response, especially as you're guiding them and training them on how to work the system until they're independently doing it on their own. So I really like it. It's changed my life as a teacher because I can watch my children be independent learners and then jump in when they need the extra support versus feeling like this overbearing teacher who's repeating that a noun is a noun. I know that a noun is a noun. I know what it is already. Like you don't have to overly teach anything, but we can look and see where, and then with your two kids, they can both be on at the same time. They can both work the math together, then they can both do their next subject in the other so that you're pacing them that way.
Oh,
So,
this is amazing. I'm already ready. I already got. This is
yes,
for
I'm
my
telling
daughter.
you.
This is for my son. We're already out here.
Look at you, and you can do everything that you want to do with them, teaching them music, teaching them art, and any science thing. You actually have the time now where you can put it in your schedule and make sure that they're getting those meaningful learning experiences that you want, the hands-on stuff that you really want for them. This provide you that opportunity, and you only have to dedicate maybe 3 hours a day for their actual learning component. So that's why I
I'm
love
definitely writing back to you. This is
it.
amazing.
Please reach out to me, please. Okay, so is
Thank
there
you.
anyone else? I see anyone else would like to share?
Yes, we see Yvette's hand is up. Yvette.
So I just wanted to say this is such a great topic again. But in New York, unfortunately, they have to have their hands around your neck to make you do stuff. So unfortunately, you do have to submit those quarterly reports, regardless of how wonderful the program is, because they just need to know. And
Mhm.
basically, most of the time, they're really not paying attention. They just have to say that they know that you're doing something. So quarterly reports have to be submitted, and then the end of the year report. So yeah, even if you have a great program like Acellus, you still have to basically submit that you're doing this or whatever you get from Acellus. You just submit it to New York City
And that's
It's the yeah, it's just the city. I don't even know if it's the state, but it's definitely New York City.
right. So if it's like sharing a report card, for instance,
Yeah,
or the enrollment, yeah. So that is so instantaneous with Acellus. I don't have to call Acellus or email Acellus and say, "Hey, Acellus, I need a report card," and I have to wait for 3 to 5 business days. I go right into my system. I request the report card for which student I want, and they email it out to the email that I put in the system. So
right.
it's as simple as that. Even with their enrollment confirmation letters, all of that is automated and it comes right to you instantaneously. So we don't have to wait to see what our kids' grades are. We don't have to wait for any report cards or any type of verification of enrollments. All of those things are automatic and automated in their systems. So it takes a lot of hard work and stress out of the parent. And it just
Absolutely.
gives all of that stuff right to you so that you can share to the different districts. And any questions at all, the districts do not call you. They call us Celis because that's the school that your child is enrolled in, and they do all of those protections for the parent.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. At the end of the year for me, I made sure that the kids took a Stanford test just so that they got used to standardized tests. But I didn't do that all that testing and stuff like the city schools do. I just wanted them to, understand and appreciate learning. And so,
Right.
yeah, a system like a Celis would have been good for me to know. I used a whole bunch of hodgepodging, if you will, but
Mhm.
it worked when it worked.
Yeah, we had what we had when we had it,
Yeah,
but I just found that this one here, because I tried different things, and I find that this program was the easiest of the programs to work with when we did go initially and tried some options. I preferred the Acellus one. I found it to be the best, the Acellus and Power Homeschool. I don't get paid by Acellus or Power Homeschool, by the way. Many districts and stuff in Texas and around, many different people use Acellus. I just happen to be a strong proponent for the Acellus program because I personally got a lot of good experiences with it. And if I experience something positive, I just naturally want to share it with the world. So thank you for your share. Okay, so I guess we're gonna, oh, Cheryl, I see another hand. Hi, Cheryl.
Grand Rising, you thought you were able to move on, huh?
I know, right? But we always have time. There's no rush.
Oh, I so appreciate it. I appreciate the whole family. Good morning, everyone. Grand Risings. So I'm in a situation where my son, I live in Florida, and we did take him out of the school system. And so we are trying to figure out kind of like what works for our family with,
Hmm.
homeschooling at this point. And so it hasn't been very successful with just using the IXL
Hmm.
and him being more independent. So I'm wondering if you could kind of give me an idea, or you can let me know if it's something I definitely should
Do
do
it.
a
Try it.
consultation with you. But just I need the support of when I'm working because I don't have that independent
And that's what we
lifestyle.
do. That's what we do. So, for instance, if your child is old enough to be at home,
Mm-hmm.
and you're at work and your child is at home, what we do is do the online academic support. So we do monitor the student. We check in with them every day. We have a text thread with us, you, and the child, so that you know exactly what their daily and or weekly and or monthly goals are, which units they should be done by when, how much videos they should watch on which day, and then we allow them their 3 hours to study, and then we come back at the tail end of the day or the next morning or whenever we come back and say, hey, you did all of your work. Here's your goals for today. Or you didn't finish this. You need to get this done. Or we need to have extra time for this. And if your child is sick or if you have to travel and all of that stuff, you don't have to write me and say, oh, Miss Banks, we're going to be out of town. We don't have to do that. You can just let me know, okay, so they're out and we can pause their account so it doesn't look like they're, and then we can resume it when they come back, or they don't have to do as much work. They can take their break and just come back and continue. It's just that we know that when we thought that they would be done, we would just extend it an extra week or two. or give them the weekends or whenever they need to make it up so that they stay on the pace that we choose for them to go. IXL is good as a supplemental resource.
Mm.
I don't use it as a primary resource. So if they, as they're learning the math, for instance, or the topics in language arts, what I do to reinforce it is to put them into the IXL and practice more on that subject area if they struggled with it. Or if it's a younger child, like a second or third grader, and I don't want them to go into the fourth grade too soon, what I do is have them use the first semester for the IXL or Power Homeschool, which is the same, a CELIS or Power Homeschool. And then in January, that's when we do the textbooks, that's when we do the IXL, that's when we do all of those other things like science fair type stuff, like
Mm.
history expo type presentations and things like that, because you don't need 1,000 people to make a thing, you know? So if you have, you really can just pace your child and with our support, because we do know that not every parent can be at home. But if their child is able to be at home and if they're responsible to be at home, then you're a good fit for the program. Or with us, with the child knowing that we have our foot on their necks, making sure
Yes.
that they're doing what they're supposed to do, and we will check in with you every day, they can anticipate that. So they tend to do better. And if they struggle, then we put in the extra cost, of course, for the tutoring hour or something like that. But we do have it where you have a fee where you can just pay for the academic coaching and monitoring, or you can have the academic monitoring, coaching, and tutoring package, which is just $100 a week. And we meet 4 days a week for an hour a day. And we go through what it is that they need, or if they have to do any tutoring at that time, or if we wanted to go into IXL and do extra practice, or if there was something they didn't really understand, we make corrections in their subjects at that time. So we do check in with them and make sure that everything is good. And because we're still a smaller company, we're about to expand, but because we're a smaller company right now, you know that your child is getting a lot of one-on-one, or if they're in a Zoom, they'll probably be in a Zoom with just one other person on their grade level, and they're both working on correcting together. So even if he was a little ahead in the program and another person just started a few months ago or weeks ago, he get to go back and see and review some of the things that we're making corrections on, and they get to see some new things that's coming that they can get early introduction to. So it's a really good flexible schedule thing where if I have to meet them in the morning or if it's better to recap with them in the afternoon, then we'll slot them out. And then that is a dedicated time for the system in our schedule where we can meet with your child and check in with them and give them any corrections if needed. If there's no needed corrections, they could go about their business because they did their thing today, and we want to praise that. So I've had many parents, I have kids in Florida who do a CELIS in high school level. They do band and they get to travel with the different because they're in the private band groups. I have kids who participated in the Junior Olympics because they were able to get that private training and coaching for the athletics on that side. So I find that I have a kid who's about to go into college and she's just turning 13 because she was pushing herself and she want to work through the summer and she want to get these high school courses done. So now she's about to go and do the dual credit at 13 with the college in high school. So as she's waiting for 16 to get her a formal high school diploma, she can't get it till she's 16, but she'll be getting her associates by the time she's 16. So it's almost like redundant at that point. So it's like you can just go and flex it how you want to flex it, you know? So even if like I said, if you're working and they're at home and they can do their work and then help with chores or go and get an afternoon job or a part-time job or work on the business plan that they want to do. Because a lot of my kids, they have companies, they have LLCs. They're working on their crafts. They're trying to be established so that by the time they are young adults, they already have something that's their own that they've been working on, and they can get a lot of community support because the community like to see young entrepreneurs out there. So it's not only about trying to get you to go to college, it's about finding out who you are, what are your strengths, what are your interests, how can we help you be the best adult that you can be as you're transitioning over? So that's why I love it, because it gives us so much more opportunities to really work on the individual child and to pace them and to allow them to struggle when they don't understand, to accept that they don't understand. We don't have to judge a child, oh, you in fifth grade, so you should know what this is. No, clearly I don't. But you telling me that isn't going to help me either, you know? Because in the classroom, sometimes teachers only teach in one type of structure because they can't do the different types of things like, I'm an auditory versus a hands-on learner versus a this type of learning and all that stuff. But when you know that you have that opportunity at home to work with them, you can then tap into their areas and how they learn and approach it in that way. And it helps to bring off a whole lot of anxiety and stress and frustration when we can do it that way. So thanks, Cheryl. And if
Thank
you want,
you.
reach out to me again, like
I
Chris,
will.
my website, because I can schedule a consultation. You can schedule online with me, and that way I can help you guys as an option. I can suggest an option to you. And like I said, I already have a kid in my roster, a couple of kids from Florida in my roster. I have kids in Turks and Caicos in my roster. I have kids around the country, really, on the roster. And I do see some in person, but I do a variety of both. I tend to see the little ones, the pre-K, kinder, some grade levels in person for that hands-on stuff. But when they become older and can independently work on their own at home, that's where I kind of switch from the middle high schoolers. They do that virtually. And then I work more one-on-one with the little ones at at my location, which I will have a building soon. So yay.
Amazing. I will be in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, Adam.
Good morning, Miss Lawanda. Good morning, World Nation. I hope everyone is having a wonderful morning so far. I just want to say thank you for bringing this space on the importance of homeschooling. The one thing that I want to mention in this space is financial literacy and the importance of investing soon, especially
Mhm.
as a child, because I believe when we do these things or whatever, our children won't fall behind financially.
Right.
So consequently, the public schools that I went to, which is the worst experience of my life, they never taught me financial literacy. I mean, I didn't learn that stuff on my own, which was pretty, rough and
Right.
horrible.
Mhm.
So I just believe that financial literacy and budgeting and learning
Mhm.
about credit and learning about how loans work as well too
Mhm.
is just as important. So we
Right.
can, pass down to our children. So when they become adults or whatever, they'll won't be confused and lost.
Right. And the Accelis program and Power Homeschool program, they do have those types of courses, especially for the upper grade kids in high school and middle schoolers. I think they have middle school, but for sure high school, they do offer all of those different types of courses. And then we can take advantage of the financial literacy bit, like I said, by making sure that our kids understand what savings are, what, just as parents in our home, if that's where our mindset is, because even some parents need education about financial literacy. So it all becomes a learning experience across the board, because I may be like in a point where I'm like, you know what? I really want my kids to start being more on the business mind versus going out there to work for other people. But I may not even be into the business mind. But because I have these types of options now, I can kind of change mindsets and work towards that. And financial literacy and getting, like I said, your own businesses and getting yourself started from younger, it's better for you versus not, because you have a little head start and we don't know when we're going to go. So knowing that we've set our kids up with a solid foundation across the board to help them as they mature, I think that the sooner the better for those things, but better now than later. So, it's like every day is a new opportunity to implement some positive changes in our lives. And nowadays, to stay on the topic, being a homeschool option is easier now with such a plethora of resources, online resources now, that it takes all of that cumbersomeness out of it, that parents can be a little more secure when making that choice if they wanted to make that choice to homeschool. So thanks for sharing on the financial literacy, Adam.
And then one more thing that I want to add into the space is when it comes to agreements and contracts, they gotta understand how contracts works and understand what they're getting themselves into whenever they're making an agreement, whether they're buying something or whether they're going into business with other people as well.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people who give out these contracts, but at the same time, they're not really happy for you as well either.
Right. And we can use real life experiences looking at in the music industry, for instance, how their contracts, because people who never went into that industry, they sign in these contracts and then they're getting the bad end of the stick because they weren't aware of how contracts go, or just thinking that, oh, it's good, without even trying. Sometimes there's free legal advice out there, but they don't even think to go and have somebody review this contract or look at or be patient and say, you know what, this isn't the best deal for me. I'm going to wait. Sometimes being patient and waiting is a good thing. And then some other people would press and say, you don't want to lose this opportunity, but is it a good opportunity if you're signing a bad contract? No. So, sometimes you got to be able to resist the temptations that might be right in front of your face when you're in a desperate kind of feeling situation or you have this opportunity in your lap. Sometimes you still have to look at that contract and go across the board and say, this isn't the best thing for me when I really think about it. And I prefer to wait a little longer until something more appealing comes my way, or I'm going to find another avenue in which I can get out there versus signing with you. Because I think that we all think that that is the only way to be successful when we have technology now where we can push ourselves out there without all of that extra hoopla. So it depends on how high up you want to go on the totem pole too. Not everybody want to be at the tippity top. You could hardly breathe up on the tippity top, and then look at all of the things that you have to chop off to get to the tippity top. I just like to be up on the side view of that mountain where I can see the top end of us. Put me there in the middle where I can just enjoy it all. So thanks for your share, Adam.
You're welcome, Ms. Lawanda.
Thank you. Is there anything else that we want to turn on to, like any chats or any of those things? Because it's nearly time. I can't believe it's almost over, and I think that I should come again. What do you guys think, guys? Do y'all want the second part of this goodness?
Maybe more than two parts.
I
Yeah.
know, right? So
And
I can come again at the end of this month, I think, or next month. I can come again to continue this conversation on homeschooling. But we possibly can go into, I think we should maybe stop on this point here because the next point is talking about how homeschooling, the benefit of it, it's tailored education and emotional safety. So we can talk more about that a little bit later and how homeschooling is a good option for trauma survivors, people who went through it and they don't want their kids to go through similar circumstances. So all of those things are additional topics that will be covered in this conversation. So I'm going to ask my friends, the administrators, if they think we should just pause right here and do part 2 and or 3 at a later time because I just love talking about what I do.
oh, definitely, we definitely should continue the conversation. As you can see, there's a lot of interest, and you are a wealth of knowledge around and inspiration around the topic. So definitely should come back. What I can do is read the chats, the final chats, and then we can begin to wrap up.
Okay.
So we have Professor Marilyn. She said financial literacy and legal basics are my passion with the youth from a cultural perspective. Right. And Chris responded to Adam, no sex ed in the Dominican Republic, nor on this indigenous land. To still be here is wild, right? And Mama Z, of course, we want part two. And then Queen A, great info, Queen. Thanks for sharing. Wish I knew this when mines were young. At least I know for my grand cubbies when they come. And
Right.
Professor Marilyn said this is great for parents and students to learn together.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris said yes, right? And so that this was robust, very powerful engagement. Thank you for the sharing, and thank you, community, for your co-creation and the motivation behind this. Definitely a great alternative. Also to consider just putting a plug in next time is, really being able to share the schedule and just what a typical day would look like.
Oh, I have that.
And then also thinking about um, just some of the other innovative activities that have happened during that time that just the public school would never be able to
Mm-hmm.
include in their curriculum, right? So I'm gonna upload the slides again, and we're gonna move past.
Yeah, we can go through all of that. That's for next time.
Yeah,
Next time. Yes, and I will include I'll put a couple of schedules in my next thing to show you guys, like in the past, some of the activities I outlined for, like I said, each Friday, what those outings were, and also during the semester, the different types of things that we were working on. Like I said, we do the different science fairs, the expos, the productions for the different types of plays where we do for reading. We turn the reading books into real life on stage and stuff like that, the different field trips we go on, all of the different hands-on things that you can do with your kids. That's not even expensive. Like, I'm not spending a ton of money doing these things, but it's stuff like YouTube University is the best place to go for arts and crafts and science ideas and even just videos on content that you may be learning about. I use YouTube all the time for my inspiration. And then I like when I'm able to look at that and make it something tangible in my hand, or me and my kids can learn from it together. So I learn a lot from my students because I was raised in a third world country. So a lot of the things that I saw on TV or kids doing, I never got to do, but now I get to do it. And I'm like, yay, I have more fun than them. They look at me like I'm the crazy woman, and I guess I am, and that's okay. so, so I love learning, and I love when my kids learn, and I love when I don't understand, because if I don't know, I love that they see that I don't know, and they see how I get to learn what I don't know. So it makes everybody feel more comfortable in my learning environment when we all know that none of us are perfect and none of us know everything, and there are things that even I don't know. So it's all good. So, yes, here's my contact information, my phone number, my Facebook page here at Lawanda Banks, and my email address is lawandabanksllc@gmail.com. That is my creative consultant company. So you can reach me through there if you would like help with brainstorming, if you have any type of business ideas or any kind of thing that you might want to do, even with setting up a homeschool classroom or systems and stuff like that. You can connect at learningwithlawanda.com or go to my website and schedule a consultation with me. And I can offer as much suggestions as I can within my realms of understanding, because I don't know everything, but I can share what I've done with you. I have no problem with sharing. I think that's my purpose on this earth. So as long as I'm here to share, it can't hurt. So reach out to me if you like at learningwithlawanda.com.
all right. So, family, as you are well aware, this Woo community is built off of your love, your donations, and your offerings, right? And so the best way to do that is through our Zelle Quick Pay, SOW Leadership Development at Gmail. or Cash App, $ Spirit of a Woman. And today's code is 1401LB. All right. And we also offer an automated system, so you don't really have to think about it. It's already built in. And as you should be aware that this is what helps sustain Woo. This is how we've been able to facilitate and maintain all of the different programs that allow us to be able to share this type of information with you, right? And so here are the offerings for the month: 25, 50, 75, 100 to continue to uh, make your contributions to this powerful platform. Right? And this is who we have upcoming tomorrow, bright and early. Mama Teresa Scott, right? Messiness and Messages. All right. Moms as mentor, mess and messiness. Right. So this is a powerful theme and topic, right, to be able to dive into. And then on Tuesday, we have from connections to conversation, personalizing your brand identity with Athenia Rodney. Two powerhouse. Hopefully you'll be able to join us tomorrow. All right. We'd like to welcome all newcomers. If you're new, please put your name in the chat. Thank you. You are now connected to the Woo Nation, and we welcome you as new members. Please tell a friend and continue to come through and gain some wisdom and information and inspiration, and continue to be connected to this community as we are about ascension, elevation, transformation, growth, and optimal health, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. All right. This is our schedule, family. Zoom live workshops are every Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7 to 8:30. And then we have sessions that are short yet powerful on Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 to 7:30. Zoom live workshops, you can stream live on Facebook. And if you're interested in receiving alerts and to be notified, you can text Woo Nation to 74121. And here's how you can stay in touch. You can register with bit.ly/Wake Up Movement. We're on Facebook, Instagram, we have YouTube. And if anybody's interested in any questions, inquiries, interested in facilitating or recommending facilitators or volunteering as admin, you can email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. All right. So at this time, family, we are going to unmute and we're going to give Sister Lawanda and offer her a love shower for her powerful contribution today and I'll offer our gratitude. So let's unmute and shower our sister with love.
Thank you, beloved. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Look forward to part
Much.
two.
Awesome
Really
job, Miss
sharing your
Lawanda.
expertise and
Appreciate you.
information. I love to see your excitement about it, and I'm just excited to work with you. Thank you so much for your time. Y'all have a wonderful day today.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
Es
week,
que es algo,
everybody.
y es que, como le digo yo, estos abrazos es lo que ellos están buscando, pero como un imán.
Sí,
Y
buenos
I
días.
love your joy of
Vicky,
sharing,
¿usted quiere,
of
tía,
sharing,
usted quiere preparar su café?
your experience. It was really wonderful. I can sense your sweetness coming through the Zoom. And thank you so much. Yeah, I can see
Have
your,
a great week,
yeah.
everyone.
Let's continue to move forward, everybody, and let's continue to share
Andrea.
the
Thank
love.
you. Thank you for a
Yes,
great
hello
session.
everyone.
Love
Thank
you,
Bye.
you.
y'all. I
Thank
love my
you.
family.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks,
Love
Chris.
you all.
Bye.
Let's continue
Peace
to
and
move
blessings.